या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणावरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्करप्रभृतिभिः देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाङ्ज्ञापहा. Hello everyone, namaste. So let's do one more round of Satsang. So let's talk about this. How can one get enlightened? How can one get Brahm-Gyan? What is needed? What is needed to get Brahm-Gyan? And the most important thing is, one needs a tremendous power of will, the desire to get enlightened. It's hard to describe how much. One can only learn about this from reading the lives of, avatars, the avatar of that Narayana. And we can see in last 500 years, we can see the life of Sri Ramakrishna and the life of Sri Chaitanya. And we see in both those lives, it's the Vyakulta. Vyakulta means that longing, that intense longing. And that has been demonstrated by both Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Chaitanya. We can't imagine their longing. And my friends, without that longing, Brahm-Gyan is not a Mickey Mouse business. There is no fuzzy logic around enlightenment. You need to give everything. You need to give everything you got. One has to die. That individual, our individuality, personality has to die. Then only one can get enlightened. Because it's literally a freedom. It's the freedom from this body, from this world. And just imagine, when one sits for meditation on that meditation mat, one has to give up every desire, every attachment. See, Sri Ramakrishna made us understand in very simple language that as long as even one strand of a dhaga, a string, is out, one cannot thread the needle. Similarly, if we have even a tiniest of the tiny desire, we can't get enlightened. It's not possible. So imagine that. One is sitting on a meditation mat. One has to forget about one's father, one's mother, one's friends, one's husband, one's wife, one's children, one's all the name and fame, all the wealth, all the education, all the wisdom. Everything has to be given up. Is that easy? It's not that easy. That's why there are very, very, very few who truly get enlightened, who truly get Brahm-Gyan, because one needs tremendous power. And that power is the power of that Atma, that Atma Bal. By the force of that power, that Atma, that Shakti, that Jagdamba, that goes to Shiva. One has to break through this body to get free. It's not that easy. And so how does one get that power? By two methods. One is just pure love. Love God, love Krishna, love Narayana, love Jagdamba. They will love Sri Ramakrishna as avatar of Krishna, love Chaitanya as avatar of Krishna, and they will just get you out. They will get you out. And the second is austerity, tapasya. There is no way around it. One cannot fix one's way to enlightenment. It's not possible. Asambhava. It requires tremendous tapasya, austerity, practice. All those gurus, those spiritual teacher, cult founders making it sound so easy, read their books and you will get enlightened. Impossible. Not possible. You have to read the life of Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Chaitanya. They didn't have to go through that austerity, that tapasya, but they did that to demonstrate it. To demonstrate for us. Sri Ramakrishna said, look, I have done 16 parts. That means all 100%. I didn't have to do anything. That's what he didn't say. But I'm saying that. He said, you guys do just one part, like 1/16. That will be enough. I've created the mold. You just follow. You love Hanuman? Worship Sri Rama as Hanuman. You can go to Hanuman through Sri Ramakrishna, because when Sri Ramakrishna worshipped Sri Rama as a Hanuman, he was so much soaked in the attitude of Hanuman that he grew a small tail. You love Shiva? Worship Shiva. He showed people how to worship Shiva. Just hearing the word Shiva, he would go in samadhi. You love Jagdamba? You love Durga, Kali, Saraswati? He showed people how to worship, how to love Mother. You love Ram, Sri Ram? Yes, he showed that. He took Ram Lala and realized that. You love Radha? He spent a year in the bhava of Sakhi of Radha. Of course, you love Krishna, Gauranga. That's what he did pretty much every day, because he was none other than Krishna himself. Same, look at Chaitanya. You know what Chaitanya did? Chaitanya did something really amazing. Our modern Vedic tradition is essentially Sri Ramanuja, Sri Chaitanya, Sri Ramakrishna, and it was saved by Shankaracharya from the hands of those nihilists, those emptiness people, and those turncoats who turned into these Mandukya Vedantists. Sri Shankaracharya came to save us. And his biggest gift is what they call Vivartvad. Vivartvad is true. And Parinaamvaad is also true. And what I'm saying, that both of them are true, is very radical. And I'm going to talk more about it. I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it through the life of Sri Chaitanya, Sri Ramakrishna, and Ma Sharda. Because their life is, and the events in their life is the evidence that both is true. The Vivartvad, the theory of appearance, and the Parinaamvaad, that the theory of transformation, both are true. So that's why I say our modern Vedic tradition is essentially taught by Sri Ramanuja, Sri Chaitanya, Sri Ramakrishna, and Shankaracharya. See, Madhvacharya is also not wrong. There is a way to explain what Madhvacharya is saying, but there are some elements of his thesis, Madhvacharya's thesis, is very difficult to reconcile. For example, he says that some of the souls, some Atma or some Jivas, are eternally going to be tamasic. They have no chance, and that is not possible. That's a fundamental flaw in his thesis. But what he is saying at a very high level is is in line with what Ramanuja is saying and what Shankaracharya is saying, and of course what Chaitanya and Sri Ramakrishna has said. So going back to Chaitanya, what Chaitanya gives. Look, when Shankaracharya came, he really had to save us by giving us this theory of Vivartvad. And he gave us the key mantra that first you do Shivoham, then Vaj Govindam. Shivoham, go say Mano Buddhi Hankar Chittaninaham, and then you realize you are Shivoham, then you spend your life as Bhaj Govindam. But what happened was, even though he was very strong and charismatic, but the momentum of that Ajatvad, that bogus Mandukya Vedanta, and still pretty strong wave of emptiness thought, they took over Shankaracharya. And essentially they hijacked Shankaracharya's charisma to basically propagate their own bogus thesis. But then came the great Ramanuja. And what Ramanuja has given us, that is the truth. That is the truth. Essentially, if you see what Chaitanya is saying of the Ved, is exactly what Sri Ramanuja is saying. And what Sri Ramakrishna has said repeatedly by giving the example of the bale fruit is exactly what Sri Ramanuja is saying. What is being done is the great injustice to the teaching of Sri Ramakrishna and what has been given by M, the author of Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. People are trying to twist and give a new name and somehow say that Sri Ramakrishna has given something new. It's very different from what Sri Ramanuja has said. That is not true. That is absolutely wrong. These great philosophies cannot be made by some scholars. One requires great tapasya and realization to talk about these philosophies. And it's very clear from the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna that what Sri Ramakrishna is saying as the nature of reality is no different from what Sri Ramanuja has said. So what Chaitanya gave us? Chaitanya gave us the love of Krishna. See, Sri Ramanuja did something great. He established the Vedic tradition all over again. If you look around India and the world, the Vedic tradition that we practice today is that of Sri Ramanuja. The love of Krishna, the love of Narayana, the love of Jagdamba, the love of Ganesh, the love of Saraswati, the love of Hanuman. That is the giving, that is the gift of Sri Ramanuja. But then there was still some formality. The Vishnu Narayana is still, feels a bit distant to us. But then came Chaitanya, and Chaitanya gave us Krishna and Radha. Chaitanya brought Krishna close to us. Chaitanya brought Radha close to us. Chaitanya gave us love. And at the same time, around the same time, Tulsidas came. And with its Ramcharitmanas, we got Sri Ramchandra all over again. See? Then we got Ram and Krishna. We got Sri Ram all over again from Tulsidas, and we got Krishna and Radha from Gauranga. And then came Sri Ramakrishna. And what Sri Ramakrishna gave? A closure. Full circle. He not only gave the full circle by bringing Shakti, Brahman, Shakti, Abhed. And with the help of Shakti, in absence of Shakti, we cannot make this work. That Vivartvad and Parinaamvaad are both true. But when we have Brahman and Shakti Abhed, that means Brahman is equal to Shakti, Shakti is equal to Brahman, Brahman is Shakti, Shakti is Brahman, that's when Parinaamvaad and Vivartvad both becomes true. Then this reality is a result of a combination of those two processes, Vivartvad and Parinaamvaad. And that's what Sri Ramakrishna taught us. That's how Sri Ramakrishna brought it to a full closure. Then beyond that, Sri Ramakrishna demonstrated it to a level that has not been demonstrated in last 2500 years of tapasya, of austerity. It's at an inhuman level. Inhuman level. People have to do some tapasya first to appreciate what Sri Ramakrishna has done. The biggest injustice done to Sri Ramakrishna is by the order of that Ramakrishna mission monks. They have created Sri Ramakrishna equal to Vivekananda. Vivekananda equal to Sri Ramakrishna. They call it Vivekananda Sri Ramakrishna tradition. They have no idea what they are talking about. Vivekananda himself said that Sri Ramakrishna can make 1,000 Vivekananda from the dust of his feet. And he was not exaggerating. Without the Shakti, without the power that Sri Ramakrishna endowed Vivekananda with, Vivekananda would not have been able to do anything. It's almost pathetic to see the condition of that organization, who is shy to say that they belong to that tradition, belong to that great Sri Ramakrishna, who is none other than Krishna, none other than that Sri Ramchandra. As a result, they achieve nothing. See, Sri Ramakrishna said at one time in the gospel that it's not that easy to get kripa, that grace. One has to deserve the grace. Why? Because there are so many wicked people in this world. There are good people and wicked people. So one has to do some work. And cleverness doesn't work. The nature of God is that of the child. Child hate clever people. That includes clever monks. There is no way to success if one is not innocent, if one is not truthful. God hates nothing more than cleverness. See, before Sri Ramakrishna used to go meet anyone, and most of the time people are shy to highlight it, but the people that Sri Ramakrishna used to go and meet on daily basis, they were the most powerful people of British India, the most influential people. And before Sri Ramakrishna, and that's how Sri Ramakrishna gave a new direction to the whole country in a very subtle way. So when Sri Ramakrishna would go and meet someone, before then, he would send one or two person, maybe his nephew and some other person, to go meet that person, to see if that person has any ego. Essentially what he was trying to check for is, if this person is totally wicked, very clever, or is it worth going to see this person? Because see, just by associating with Sri Ramakrishna, by spending few hours with that person, Sri Ramakrishna was showering a lot of grace on that person. I tell you, anyone who is enlightened, or even spiritually very advanced, any kind of cleverness, crookedness, lie telling is like it's the most uncomfortable, most unpleasant feeling, situation for that person. Enlightened people hate to be even for a second with someone who is very clever, who is not truthful, who is, the problem is enlightened people can see through. Until we get enlightened, we feel like we are really so smart. We can be more clever than everyone else. We can lie our way through. But the problem is, enlightened people can see through all this. And that's why it's so painful to them, so uncomfortable they feel, because they know what the other person is doing and they don't know what to do with it. They see through everything, and that's why they don't like to associate with them, because it's so painful to see what the other person is doing to oneself. It's as simple as that. Anyhow, so my point is, Let's go back to where we started. So how do we get enlightened? My friend, here is the good news. Good news is it's possible. Bad news is it's a serious business. It's a serious business. One has to have tremendous will, vyakulta, tremendous will. And it's hard to put a number on it. But think about, stamping a, tunnel through Mount Everest, that kind of a will. You have to have so much will that no matter who comes, the death comes, Yamaraj comes, the world comes to end, I am going to get enlightened. I am going to break through this. You have to feel that way. And that's when you will get enlightened, and if you love someone, if you love Sri Ramakrishna, if you love Chaitanya, if you love Sri Ramanuja, if you love Jagdamba, someone will come and help you. Because people are looking at you. People are looking, there are beings who are looking at us. And when they say someone is struggling that way, they feel great. Okay, good. Now let's give a little help to that person. And in the end, as Sri Ramakrishna said, when the big tree is cut, people cut probably, 4/5, and the last 1/5, tree falls by itself. Same when we are cutting a waterway, 4/5 it cut, last 1/5 is done by the water itself. So similarly, in the end, enlightenment happens just by itself, just by the grace of Mother. Just by the grace of Mother. So I'll stop right here today. I haven't recorded much this last month or so. But see, this year, my personal spiritual goal is to stamp out this Pap Purush from my subtle body. Our Vedic tradition is not a Mickey Mouse tradition. This Mickey Mouse is not Disney's Mickey Mouse, so don't come and sue me. No, it's not a fuzzy business. It's a serious Vedic tradition. It's a serious tradition based on austerities. Just book, lecture, fake behavior, that will not do. It's a serious business. It's a serious business based on austerity and truthfulness. And what happens is, between the month of Ashad and Kartik, that negative, that avidya maya, that Pap Purush, that takes over, inside our subtle body. And it leads to all the kind of behavior, just our life becomes not very pleasant. And that's why our Vedic tradition, starting with the month of Vaishak, for the next 6 months, is the tradition of great austerities. And now that I know all this, this year for the next 5 months, my goal is to not let it take root. It's impossible to have your body extremely almost 100% pure, because then body will not survive. As Sri Ramakrishna said, one has to have little bit of avidya maya, otherwise the body will not survive. But we should all try, and our Vedic tradition is designed for us to minimize it. Then only we can have joyful, beautiful life. So for me, my personal goal for next 5 months is to keep doing my own spiritual practice and try to stamp out as much as I could, that avidya maya, that Pap Purush from my own subtle body. And so that's why I don't know how much I'll be able to record, but whenever I could. Yeah. See, Krishna and that Chaitanya, Sri Ramakrishna, people don't know. People don't know how close we are to that Krishna through Sri Ramakrishna. But that is a sad story. That's a sad story. It has not been brought to the public. But who would do that? One has to realize that first, right? But here is what I'm telling you. we can access to Krishna, that Narayana, that Sri Ramakrishna, Sri Rama, that Chaitanya through Sri Ramakrishna. All we have to do is to get to somehow to that fourth center, to Anahat center. And at that place, in our subtle body, Sri Ramakrishna becomes accessible. And the thing is, if he's so close that if we start trying, we get help. We get a lot of help. Then we have nothing to worry. See, we have all kind of pandits, all kind of scholars, all kind of acharyas. But who has that power to say, you give me the power of attorney and I'll free you? Try to say that. Why our heart will almost fail if we say that? Because the talker, the ego, can say that, but the Atman knows that will destroy. Because the one who is saying will have to take over all the bad karma from the other person. So try to say that I will give me power of attorney and I will liberate you. I'll free you. Try to say that. You won't be able to say it. Just try. Give it a try. Your heart will really race if you say that. And here it is. Here is Krishna in the form of Sri Ramakrishna. He's saying, give me your power of attorney. I'll free you. Just all we want to do is just love. Just love. Take my word. Give it a try. Just talk to someone and say, hey, you give me your power of attorney and I'll free you. I'll liberate you. Give it a try. It's not that easy. Only Krishna can do that. Only Krishna can do that. Okay? So, on that note, I'll just, hymn maybe, and then we can close it. What to say? Mere pyare ka naam Sri Krishna, Bansi wale ka naam Sri Krishna. See, if the name of Krishna fills your love with joy, then we are on the right track. We are on the right track. It's good to be on the team of Krishna. Krishna is amazing. Krishna is amazing. Alright, so we'll talk again after some time. I'll close it here now. Okay, then take care. We'll talk again. Bye.